I am in the production business. I understand what is worth doing for ratings. I understand what is worth doing when the industry is canceling one black guy. I know what happens when they are going to elevate another. And I know what happens when they don't care about either one.
Spoke to 50, then she said 50. And this is exact words that came out her mouth. 50 does not determine what goes in and goes out of this documentary.
They called it The Reckoning, but what if the most explosive documentary in Hollywood history was actually a carefully managed play? Tonight we're pulling back the curtain on the insiders they tried to silence, the $20 million quarterback sack no one saw coming, and the secret script behind the fall of Sean Diddy Combs. In the high-stakes world of the production business, nothing, absolutely nothing, happens by accident. There is a specific, cold-blooded formula for ratings. There is a strategy for the exact moment the industry decides to cancel a prominent figure, and an even more calculated playbook for when they choose to elevate someone else to take their place.
Everything that happens in a business, that's based off of pretend, that seems like a setup, is.
Yes. What I'm saying is, if Jussie Smollett and Lee Daniels for a living make stories that are not real, and they make them so good that people believe them. And
if you've been paying attention to Katt Williams lately, you know he's been shouting a warning from the rooftops. This entire business is built on pretend. Katt breaks it down with the bluntness of a man who has seen the gears grinding from the inside. He says that if you see chaos unfolding on your screen, but the checks are still clearing and the executives are still smiling, it means someone called the play a long time ago. Welcome to the Fame Game. We're glad you're here. Before we pull the mask off the bad boy empire, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're deep diving into the truth that the mainstream edit bays are too afraid to touch. Katt uses a sports metaphor that perfectly encapsulates the current state of hip-hop, the quarterback sack. Think about it. When a quarterback gets flattened, was it a random event? Or did the defense spend all week watching film, identifying the weakness in the line and rehearsing the exact moment they would strike? The industry knew they were going to sack Diddy. They practiced it. They worked the play until they could ensure that a man worth $20 million or more would not only be knocked down, but would be rendered so radioactive that no one would ever hire him again.
This one night, 50 called me up, and they got him on the phone. Me and him was just talking. We was talking about old time sit down with black hands, sit down.
But why? Because in a business based on fiction, scandals aren't random explosions. They are storylines outlined in a boardroom before the public ever sees a single frame of footage. The fall of Sean Diddy Combs has that unmistakable smell of a corporate-managed takedown. We've seen the lawsuits, the federal raids on his mansions in Los Angeles and Miami, and the harrowing leaked hotel tapes from 2016. But that is the safe version. That is the version designed to satisfy the public's thirst for justice while leaving a lot of very powerful people rich, quiet, and, most importantly, off camera.
I spoke to Tim and I spoke to Kirk Burrows. And I was like, yo, because I had Tim's number. Tim didn't know how to get into touch with Kirk. Kirk didn't know how to get into touch with Tim. But Kirk was trying to tell me, give him the number.
Behind the polished veneer of the high-budget Netflix documentary is a much messier, more dangerous story. It's a story involving a security guard who saw the unseeable and got cut out of the narrative. It involves a co-founder who lost 25% of the most successful label in hip-hop history but somehow continues to protect the brand's image. And it involves a director who, if you believe the people in the room, decided from day one whose voice mattered and who should be silenced forever.
The director, I gotta get her name, man, because it don't even sound. I want to put her on blast because she was telling me, she was saying to me that
nothing in a pretend-based business is accidental. Not the heroes, not the villains, and definitely not the people who go missing from the final cut. Tonight, we aren't just retelling the story of The Reckoning. We are asking, if this story was quarterbacked from the start, what did the producers have to remove? Who did they have to gag to make Diddy look like the only monster in the room? He was the man who walked Diddy into every club, every studio and every hotel hallway. He knows where the bodies are buried because he was often the one holding the shovel. Katt points out that people like Jesse Smollett or Lee Daniels create fiction for a living. They are so good at it that millions of people buy into their stories as reality.
Or you would be hearing who's losing money. In all of these situations, it's only the artist that's losing. Somebody makes big money. When these rappers get killed, not incidental. Somebody made $100 million and now don't have to talk to that artist or none of their crew.
So why is it hard to believe that these same creators could flip the script and present a real-life story that is just as fabricated? If they can make 300 episodes of a fake show feel real, they can certainly make a real scandal fit a fake narrative. Gene describes a scenario where he, along with Diddy's childhood friend Tim and Bad Boy co-founder Kirk Burroughs, were supposed to come in as a package deal. The logic was sound. 1. Tim would cover the growing up phase, the early years before the fame. 2. Kirk Burroughs would handle the business, the contracts, and the legendary paperwork of the 90s. 3. Gene Deal would handle the streets, the security, the atmosphere, the notorious beefs, and the raw reality of life on the road with Puff. Gene even mentions that he wanted to discuss the notorious big stuff, the Tupac conflict and the tragic events at City College. He wanted to give the public the whole 9 yards. This is where it gets interesting. Gene claims he spoke directly with 50 Cent. We know 50 has been the loudest voice in the anti-Diddy movement, using his G-Unit film television banner to produce a documentary titled Diddy Do It, later integrated into broader projects. Gene says 50 told him they would spare no expense. 50 supposedly wanted the story told exactly how it happened, but when Gene tried to organize his package deal, asking for $50,000 apiece for himself, Tim and Kirk to put their names and reputations on the line, the walls started coming up. If you're finding this breakdown of the industry's inner workings fascinating, make sure to like the video. It helps us keep the lights on here at the Fame Game so we can keep digging. Gene tells a story of a power struggle with the director. He describes her as someone who dismissed his requests as crazy, claiming the production wasn't spending that kind of money. This despite Gene having invoices from other documentaries proving he'd been paid for his time and footage before. The most telling line? According to Gene, the director told him, 50 Cent does not determine what goes in and goes out of this documentary, and he definitely doesn't determine who gets paid. Think about that. The man whose name is all over the marketing, the man who is the face of the investigation, allegedly had no power over the actual narrative. The real power sat in the director's chair, and the director, according to Gene, wanted the safe version. According to Gene, Kim was working for Russell Simmons first, then was passed over to Andre Harrell at Uptown Records. There are even darker allegations of hush money involving expensive cars for people who saw things they shouldn't have at the Uptown offices. Gene asserts that Kim didn't even get with Diddy until Diddy got his own major deal. The narrative of the stolen girl survived because it was dramatic and easy to sell. It keeps the audience focused on a romantic rivalry rather than asking harder questions about how much control these industry moguls actually exerted over the women in their orbit. Perhaps the most heartbreaking part of Gene's testimony involves the notorious Big. There has long been a rumor that Biggie's own estate budget was used to pay for his funeral. Gene says if anyone knew the truth, it would be Kirk Burroughs, who was the manager. Gene claims that before he died, Biggie told him he was planning to fire his management team because they didn't know what they were doing. Specifically, Gene alleges they were the ones who convinced Biggie to sell his publishing and marketing rights to Diddy, a move that effectively siphoned off Biggie's wealth for decades to come. Because Biggie died so young and his mother, Valletta Wallace, was unfamiliar with the predatory nature of the music business, she kept these same people around for years. Wayne Barrow and Kirk Burroughs ended up as executive producers on almost everything related to Biggie's legacy. As Katt Williams points out, when an artist is killed or removed, someone makes a $100 million profit. Suddenly, the label doesn't have to validate contracts with a difficult artist or their crew. They only have to deal with a grieving mother once a year. The benefits go up and up, while the artist's family is left with the crumbs. By now, the pattern should be clear. We are watching a managed sacrifice. Diddy is the monster who gets named. The documentary goes to number 1. The safe insiders get their close-ups and their redemption arcs. But the people like Gene Deal, the ones with the raw footage, the photos, and the stories that would burn the whole machine down, stay on the outside. The industry didn't want the truth. They wanted a version of the truth that kept everyone else rich, employable, and comfortably off-screen. They sacrificed the quarterback to save the owners of the team. If you've stuck with us this far, you're the reason we do this. Like the video one more time and let us know your thoughts. Who do you believe? The polished executives on Netflix or the security guard who walked the halls when the lights were off? So here's where the story turns back on you. If this is how they handled one of the most powerful men in the history of hip-hop, what do you think happens to the young artists starting out today with no money and no lawyers? When you watch The Reckoning or any other official documentary again, whose eyes are you going to believe? The ones that made the final cut, or the ones they decided were just too dangerous and too expensive to let you hear? Keep your eyes open, fam. Don't let them play the game on you. I'm Narrator Name, and this has been The Fame Game. Until next time, keep it real. The truth isn't always what's televised. Usually it's what they couldn't afford to show you. Thanks for watching The Fame Game.